culture and music.
What do you think it is about an artist like Hugh that he comes up with these songs that seems to transcend just the music as merely music, but suggest something larger? You at a personal level have this relationship with a song like Still Grazing, but I've seen when he's been on stage and he performs a song like Stimela, that there is almost something deeply personal, moving. As he tells a story, you almost see people being moved in almost a religious way. You get this sense of something incredible. What is it about him that makes him have that power?
It's, you know, what's so amazing is that he's a consummate storyteller. If you listen to Stimela and you read how, it came to him, and, we documented that very well, I think, in the book. It's consummate storytelling, about this train, and about what the coal train meant, and, how it took the men from the families to the mines and so forth and so on. It's religious, it's spiritual, it's cultural. I have heard him and seen him perform it many places, especially in the U.S., but it's something about him performing that song to African audiences where they connect at such deep levels. When he performed it, out of all the songs that he does, I can always say to Bro Hugh, and we joke, he can get away with not playing Grazing in the Grass here in South Africa, but there's no way in the world he could ever walk off the stage without performing Stimela. Period.
It's almost like a prayer.
Period. Yes, it is. It's a prayer. It's a chant. It's an anthem. It is all that. I mean, that song deeply resonates, with the people not only of this country but with the people of this continent.
I'm chatting to author, photojournalist, Professor D. Michael Cheers, and you're listening to Victor Dlamini. One of the things that fascinates me about both your work but also your observations, Michael, is the extent to which you've looked at the role of freedom in music and how they fed each other, whether it's for artists like Nina Simone, Hugh Masekela, Marvin Gaye, and within South Africa we know people like Johnny Gianni, who have taken the music and still kept it deeply beautiful, incredibly artistic, yet they've infused in it the most urgent messages of the day. Absolutely. Whether it was, what's going on. You
took the words out of my mouth. Marvin Gaye's what's going on. Think about that period in U.S. history, the Civil Rights Movement. Where artists were challenged to address what was going on. You can't get on stage during those times and just talking about bumping and grinding. People wanted something. People were affected by what was going on in their lives and in their communities and across America. People like Marvin Gaye, people like Nina Simone and so many others. Gosh, I could just go on and on and on. Oh, of course, Miriam Makeba. Just go on and on and on. They used music and to tell that story and to infuse into the consciousness of the people, how important it was for them to stay resilient and to stay on the battlefield and to fight for their rights. Bro Hugh would, bring back Nelson Mandela and on and on and on. If you just listen to his body of work, I'm not talking about protest songs or political songs. You just listen to his body of work. These type of messages are there. And they were, and that music played such a key role in the liberation of African Americans in the United States. And again, I'm not just talking about just the music by African American artists. There are a lot of white artists. You know, let's be fair, let's be clear. There are a lot of white artists. You know, the Joan Baez's and so forth and so on. You know, the Pete Seegers and on. You know, and some of the folk singers. You know, who sacrificed their careers, the advancement of their careers. You know, monetarily and otherwise, to lock arm in arms with that struggle that African Americans were going through in the 60s. And I'm sure that other artists around the world, you know, white, black, you know, Carlos Santana and his music. I mean, you can just, you know, you can just literally just, you know, spin the globe, and you can identify these artists who use music in a politically conscious way.
There is a song by Nina Simone, and others sing it too. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. And each time I listen to the music of Hugh Masekela, as well as these other artists that you've mentioned, Miriam Makeba and others, you get this sense, almost this, because artists are by their nature very sensitive, but you get this sense almost of frustration that a world that talks so much about civilization, about liberty, that celebrates it, was reluctant to give it to especially black people at that time. How much anger did it give them to work in these beautiful halls like Carnegie and others, where people came dressed in the most refined clothing, yet turned a blind eye to the withholding of freedom?
Boy, ooh, brother, that's a deep one. I think you got to be careful about anger and how you process it and how you internalize it. You know, you can use it to rally. You could use it, you know, as a means to empower. And I believe that's what a lot of those artists did. And again, I go back to people like Miriam Makeba, who by all means was blacklisted for a number of years. And I'm sure she was angry. She definitely paid a personal price, politically and otherwise, for her stance. You look at Eartha Kitt, you know, who was ostracized and self-exiled, you know, for a lot of years because of her outspokenness.
Ray Charles.
Ray Charles, you know.
Georgia on my mind.
Yeah, there you go. You know, all you gotta do is, you know, and thank God for, I think it was Taylor Hackford who did the film, you know, that you know, with Jamie Foxx, was it? You know, who
Ray, yeah.
Who brought that story to light and really talked about what Ray Charles refused to do. You know, I mean, here's the band on the bus, they gotta eat, you know, but, you know, I'll be damned if we're gonna be disrespected, you know, or we can't stay in certain hotels, you know, in order to perform. People like James, same thing happened to James Brown, you know, where it's not just you, you know, but you got bands and, you know, members and blah, blah, they gotta feed their families and so forth and so on, and you're making a statement that, hey, enough is enough. You know, I'm not going to play that in this city, in this state, until, you know, everybody, you know, has their rights.
Have you been inspired working with people like Masekela and the others that you've documented in your work? Because it seems that while at times they can be deeply charged,